Hi everyone, our video today will talk about gold mining and processing. We divided our video into 5 parts. Firstly, I will introduce gold and its mining background. Next, we will look at how can we discover a gold mine, how to mine it, and then how to process. At last, some attention will be given as well as a short conclusion. Most of us must have heard gold in our daily life. It's a bright, yellow, ductile metal, and gold is very stable in nature. It often occurs in free element form. It seldomly reacts with most of the acid, but it can dissolve in alkaline solution of cyanide. Besides, it can also dissolve in mercury, although it's not a chemical reaction. These two features are widely used in gold processing. Well, all these unique characters in those gold with many special value. We can see the figures here. Gold is relatively rare in natural world. Its total stock above the ground so far is about 198,000 tons, and below ground reserve is approximately 54,000 tons. Nearly half of the above ground stock have been reprocessed into jewels. The earliest gold rush had been found in 18th century. Over hundreds of years, higher investment and technology have been put into gold mining. Today, as we can see in this graph, gold mining is common in most of the area, and China was the largest gold producer in 2019. Now, let's have a detailed look at how gold mine is explored.
Okay, I would like to introduce an exploration of gold mine, and I will mention 3 parts. First, the origin of gold mine. Generally speaking, there are several groups to determine what kind of gold mine. You could see 1 to 5, and some different types of gold deposits on the right. Now, look at the classification of gold. In this figure, gold is divided into 4 groups which alternate included BRF hosts and greenstone hosts in this area, and reduced intrusion related in the middle area, and oxidized intrusion related, and others. Therefore, when we understand the characteristics of gold mines, we can explore them by some geophysical methods. So initially, I want to talk is magnetic, a traditional method used in early gold exploration. In this figure, we can find the target drilling area probably located near the blue line on the section 4800E. And secondly, electrical exploration technology. As electrical prospecting is widely used in most gold processing, it can be divided into 4 methods. Spontaneous potential method. In some areas, it's very effective to detect low temperature hydrothermal gold deposits with high surface content. And DC resistivity method. Induced polarization method. This method is especially suited for detecting gold deposits closely related to mantle surface and cold winds. And finally is electromagnetism. And what's more, we have gravity exploration, reflection seismic method, and radionuclide change. Now, I have a successful application case for you. It happens in the Northeast Queensland, Australia. Some conclusion can be drawn. Gravity and seismic data can explain regional oil controlling or oil hosting structures. For instance, in the right size figure, gravity and seismic exploration are used for regional structural interpretation. Magnetic surface data can efficiently delineate oil hosting space. Resistivity anomaly characteristics can reveal the distribution range of mineralized quartz veins. And finally, the combined characteristics of magnetic susceptibility and resistivity changes can be used to find the underground occurrence position of all bodies. So that's all. Let's move on to the next slide.
I will introduce two main types of gold mines and their mining methods. First one is placer mining. Placer mining extracts gold accumulated in placer. It is a mining of stream-bed deposits for minerals. Gold are considerably denser than sand, so they tend to accumulate at the base of placer deposits. The figure on the right is a plot depicting placer mining. It is one of the common methods. Most of the methods for placer mining need water. An area well protected from the flow of water is a great location to find gold. Panning is the simplest technique to extract gold from placer ore. The gold dredge is the same concept but on a much larger scale. However, as the gold has become increasingly depleted in the most easily accessible areas, smaller and more maneuverable dredges have become much more common. The second type of mines is hard rock mine, also called as underground mining. Due to their thin veins, open pit mining is rarely used in mining such gold mines, and underground mining methods are mostly used. On the left is a model of a modern underground mine with shaft access. The first critical step when mining gold underground is development project. Generally speaking, development mining excavates some roadways closer to the ore body from the surface. It is a supporting system for mining projects, such as ventilation. Ventilation is important aspect of underground hard rock mining. After the development project is completed, the mining preparation will start for rock drilling and ore drawing in the ore block, like slope connecting roads, upper and lower section along vein roads. Cutting and stopping are the exact mining steps. We open free surface excavation space for stop. For example, cutting wells. And then stopping is the work of mining from all blocks that have been mined and cut. It can be divided into clubs, transportation, and ground pressure measurement.
Let's talk about the gold processing part, which can be briefly divided into the following 5 points. Amalgamation is one of the most familiar methods when considering the gold processing. The basic principle behind this is to use the physical properties of gold to be soluble in mercury to recover and concentrate fine particles of gold. For more detail, the simplified steps can be summarized as follows. Firstly, the ore slurry needs to pass through a copper plant covered with mercury to mix the two slurry. Then, the denser amalgam is separated from the ore in the discharge port of the mill. Finally, after filtering and washing to remove impurities, the amalgam is heated in a sealed distillation flask to distill the mercury, which is recycled and reused later. Due to the highly toxicity and volatility of mercury that a few grams of mercury is enough to cause death, how to ensure the health and safety of operators is a major challenge. That is, factories need to always pay attention to the airtightness of equipment and air quality to prevent mercury poisoning. Cyanidation is the most widely used technology to extract gold from low-grade ores. Its basic principle is to allow gold to be oxidized and dissolved in cyanide solution, just as shown in the chemical formula above. Statistically, no less than 13% of global cyanide consumption is used in this method. In this process, the oxidant is usually the oxygen in the atmosphere which will cause gold to dissolve in the presence of an sodium cyanide solution and from sodium aluminate cyanide and sodium hydroxide. It is also valuable to be mentioned that heap leaching is usually practiced for extracting gold through cyanidation by spraying low concentration cyanide on the pile to dissolve gold and collecting the gold-bearing solution after that
people can extract gold at a lower cost and with simplified process. Although the price is low and cyanide, which can be effectively degraded, has been widely used in gold extraction, its strong toxicity has been controversial for a long time. In the regard, different countries and international organizations has made strict regulations. For example, UNEP has set International Cyanide Management Code to manage the production, transportation, utilization, and disposal of cyanide used in gold production. Besides, the EU's Mining Waste Directive also mandated that the concentrations of cyanide should be below the 10 ppm. More than this, some governments even banned cyanide for gold mining, such as Myanmar in 2014. In addition to gold, some ores known as refractory also contain some substances which can interfere with or consume cyanide, such as stibnite, pyrrhotite, and orthanopyrite. In order to overcome this problem, there are different corresponding treatment methods for different content. Firstly, crushing the ore to a level sufficient to make the gold practically susceptible to cyanide corrosion. Second, through roasting process in order to open up the gold content to attack by cyanide solutions and to eliminate sulfide. Last method is to use the high pressure reactor to accomplish oxidation. After that, cyanidation can be performed to dissolve and extract the gold after the oxidation is completed by the above method.
The next step is refining. Gold extracted by amalgamation or cyanidation contains a variety of impurities, including zinc, copper, silver, and iron. Refining is the process of removing these impurities, of which the main techniques are listed below. We'll go through some of these methods in detail. Two of the most common methods are Miller process and the whole wheel electrolytic process. The Miller process is based on the fact that when gaseous chlorine is blown across melted gold, virtually all the impurities combine with the chlorine more readily and form chlorides, which then be skimmed off, leaving pure gold behind. However, Miller process has some limitations. It failed to remove platinum group metals. It's only suitable for large-scale refiners, and the product purity is only about 99.5%. As for whole wheel electrolytic process, in this process, a casting of impure gold is lowered into an electrolyte solution of hydrochloric acid and gold chloride as the anode. With an electric current, the gold migrates to the cathode made of pure gold, leaving the impurities as a separate solution or residue. With this method, the purity can reach to 99.99%, while the limitations are as follows. Compared to Miller process, it is more complicated because it requires longer turnaround times. Also, it requires initial gold purity of 96%, thus producers need to keep a large stock of gold, which is very expensive. In addition, it is also only for large-scale refiners' use. Other methods have their own limitations. For example, inquartation and parting are only for small-scale refiners, while cupellation cannot remove silver and PGMs. Besides, aqua regia process can only be used when initial silver content is less than 10%. The last step of gold processing is assaying, which is to measure the proportion of precious metal content. Among the techniques listed in the figure, fire assay is considered to be the most widely used method. It adopts lead to dissolve the gold, silver, and PGMs and forms a metal layer called lead button after cooling. Then, lead is removed by oxidizing and heating, while silver is removed by boiling in nitric acid. At last, the gold residue is weighted to determine the purity. However, this process is time-consuming, resource-consuming because the sample is heated to 1200 degrees and it requires heavy metals. Moreover, modifications are needed when nickel and PGMs are present. Therefore, sometimes ICP spectrometry is used as a supplement.
Gold mining companies should shoulder the social responsibility of regional planning and development. Generally speaking, enterprises should conduct in-depth investigation and study on the geological conditions of gold deposits in order to obtain sufficient relevant data and have a clear understanding of the technical and economic conditions of mining. When choosing a mining method, the following considerations should be taken into account. Firstly, the accuracy and the completeness of the geological data of the deposit, especially the data relating to the stability and firmness of the oil rocks must be available. Second, when the geological conditions of the deposit are relatively complex, it is necessary to complete the industrial experiment or mining method in the period of infrastructure construction. Third, in the analysis and comparison of many methods, attention should be paid to the influence of different methods. Gold mine is an extremely precious resource of a country, which is of great value to the national economy. Developing gold production can not only increase the country's foreign exchange income and gold reserves, but also promotes the economic development of gold-producing areas. Therefore, the state should strengthen the management of gold mining and strictly control the sewage treatment processes after alchemy, so as to reduce the negative impact on nature. Here are references. Thanks for watching.